Finally, where the hell have we been? Welcome back to the latest episode of Vinylology, where we have been exploring the top 3,000 albums of all time. This episode features music from the last 4 decades and has our first pop punk, industrial, and down-tempo entries. Also this time, I flew to Phoenix and I'm ready to report on 2 record stores there, the Groove and Stinkweeds. So check that out in a little bit. Welcome aboard. Angel Rat is the 6th studio album released by Canadian progressive metal band Voivod. Produced by famed Rush producer Terry Brown, it was released in 1991 by MCA Records and is a follow-up to their critically acclaimed and only Billboard 200 charting release, 1989's Nothing Face. On this album, Voivod adopted a more alternative psychedelic rock sound and adding more layers to their adopted progressive metal and thrash metal sound. Voivod has its origins in the Canadian province of Quebec, having released a total of 15 studio albums and was influenced equally by the new wave of British heavy metal, burgeoning hardcore punk scene, and the 1970s progressive rock. Voivod forged a distinctive brand of heavy music that often relied on lyrical themes such as Reagan-era Cold War politics, post-apocalyptic literature, and science fiction. The band's classic lineup consisted of members representing themselves with one-name nicknames, with Snake on vocals, Piggy on guitar, Blackie on bass, and Away on drums. Their musical style has changed several times since the band's origin in the early 1980s, where they started out as a speed metal band, later adding a mix of progressive and thrash metal to create their own unique metal style, often called technical thrash metal. Most of the band's sound is dominated by unexpected time signatures and Piggy's liberal use of dissonant, unconventional minor chords. Voivod is also credited as being one of the big 4 Canadian thrash metal bands, along with Sacrifice, Razor, and Annihilator. With Angel Rat being the band's major record label debut, the album is the most commercial sounding album of Voivod's career, and it received mixed reviews initially before becoming a strong cult classic ever since. Before the release of the album and during the mixing process, bassist Blackie departed the group over disagreements over the evolution of the band's sound and is not pictured on the back cover. A promotional music video was made for the song Clouds in My House. Men Without Hats bandleader Ivan Dvorachuk performs keyboards on The Outcast. This was done in return for Away recording the drums for Men Without Hats album Sideways and participating in their promotional tour. The master tapes for the album, as well as 2 more of their other albums, were long thought destroyed in a 2008 Universal Studios fire that destroyed many audio master tapes. However, Blackie discovered in late 2019 that the tapes were located in a facility in Pennsylvania, persistently questioning Universal staff. The tapes are now in his possession. The artwork for the album, like the band's other releases, was done by drummer Away, who is also a graphic artist. Angel Rat's the first Voivod album to not feature on the cover the Korgol character, who is a recurring character sort of similar to Iron Maiden's Eddie. Korgol appeared on Voivod's first 5 albums. My vinyl copy it's from Record Store Day 2022. I actually got 2, ended up with 2 copies for some reason. It looks nice. This is the first time this has been pressed in the United States, ever, and it was remastered by a Canadian studio engineer by the name of Peter Moore. It's on this really cool looking purple green, almost psychedelic looking, vinyl. Really cool, custom labels. The remastering could have been better, in my opinion. It's a little bit lower. The level's a little low. You have to turn up your volume. It's, just in my opinion, it could have been, done a little bit. I wish I had more punch. So I remember fondly buying this on initial release, being a big Rush fan, and when I saw Terry Brown producing, I gave it an instant buy. I don't know what ever happened to it, but I bought it on CD and wore it out. Anyway, I love this band and this album. It is dark, mysterious, and totally different. This album gets some flack by some Voivod fans, but it is really underrated and is indeed great. My favorite tracks are Panorama, Clouds in My House, Best Regards with its awesome bass line, The Outcast, and especially New Age Fractal. I struggled between a 7.5 and an 8, but I decided to give this a 7.5, which is still a great personal score. Better things from this band will definitely be on Vinylology in the future. Abacab is the 11th studio album by English rock band Genesis, released in 1981 by Charisma Records. After their 1980 tour, the band took a break before reconvening to write and record at The Farm, a recording studio bought by the group in England, being their first album recorded in England since 1976, A Trick of the Tail. It marked the band's conscious decision to evolve from their progressive rock roots into more accessible and pop-oriented material, and the band considered it their least technical album up to that point. But this most closely represented their natural live sound. The success of drummer Phil Collins' debut 1981 solo album, Face Value, had gained momentum by the recording stage. Keyboardist Tony Banks claimed it did little to alter the sound or style of Abacab or the relationship towards him or Rutherford, as they have been friends for a long time. Genesis recorded Abacab in 14 weeks, typically working 12-hour days, with a new studio environment, had a productive effect in that the band created enough material for a double album. They ultimately discarded about 1 hour of finished music because they considered the songs were too similar to their past albums. However, 3 of those songs were later released on the EP 3x3, which came out the following year, and 2 more songs were released as B-sides. The band's shift in direction was also highlighted by their change of production, with the departure of producer David Henschel, who had worked with them since 1975, with the band producing the album themselves. Hugh Padgham, who had worked with Collins on Face Value, and former Genesis singer Peter Gabriel's third solo album, which also featured Collins on drums, was brought in as an engineer. Gabriel's track Intruder features a gated reverb effect on Collins' drums that Banks and Rutherford liked and wanted Padgham to do the same on Abacab, often bringing the drums to the forefront of a song. The band praised the engineer's fresh approach to recording and enjoyed the freedom to explore new sound textures than they had before. Abacab received a mostly positive reception from critics and was a commercial success for the band, becoming their second #1 LP on the UK Albums Chart and their first to reach the top 10 of the US Billboard 200, peaking at number 7. The album was certified gold in the United Kingdom and double platinum in the United States. Genesis released 4 singles from the album. The most successful single was the first single, Abacab, being titled after the song structure of an early version of the song, with sections at one point spelling A-B-A-C-A-B. In typical popular music, the letter A represents a verse, B a chorus, and C the bridge, the song's intro and outro not designated with a letter. For example, the typical 32-bar song structure, AABA, is composed of 2 verses, a bridge, and then another verse. Funnily enough, the final version of Abacab is not in the ABACAB order at all. It's actually intro, verse 1, chorus, verse 2, chorus, bridge, verse 3, chorus, and outro, which is actually something like ABABCAB. Second single, No Reply at All, is a rhythm and blues style track that features the Phoenix horns from the band Earth, Wind & Fire. This marked the first instance of Genesis using outside musicians since the string section was used on their 1969 debut album. The band wanted to emulate the brass keyboard sound that was used on some parts on their previous album Duke, and Collins had used the Phoenix horns on Face Value already. Third single, Keep It Dark, with its odd 6/4 time signature, was followed by the last single, Man on the Corner, a gloomy Collins ballad about homelessness backed by a simple drum machine beat, which achieved modest success. Deviating from the band's previous work, the album art was created to look like a simple abstract painting to go with the album's abstract lack of an overall theme, and a lyric sheet was intentionally omitted. The album cover was designed by English artist Bill Smith, who later recalled that the group were somewhat difficult to work with and indecisive. The cover image was taken from a book of Smith's, which featured an arrangement of torn, inch-long pieces of paper from a Pantone swatch of colors with squiggly black lines. Smith reproduced it in 4 different color schemes with an embossed finish, and all 4 were simultaneously released, apparently in evenly distributed numbers. I have a 1981 Allied original pressing. This is the D cover. It has a really good dynamic range, so you really can't go wrong with this. The album's been occasionally reissued. I think the last time was in 2018. Has to be remaster, but it sounds great. It's very easy to find this. You can find it basically almost any record store, not too difficult for really inexpensively. So You can't go wrong with this in any of these original pressings. The album represents the final bridge between Genesis' progressive rock roots into their later ventures into more mainstream pop rock, with Collins' explorations into Hornfield soul numbers. My favorites are the title track, Abacab, with its fantastic jamming middle 8 section, the song No Reply with its great vocals, Keep It Dark, and Man on the Corner. Not every song is a winner, though, with the biggest stinker being Who Done It, which has incredibly stupid lyrics that were supposedly written in an hour. Totally shows. Supposedly the band almost released this as a single, What Boneheads. I'm sorry, but I absolutely hate this song. I am not sure if this was for comedy, but it completely sucks. Anyway, my personal score for this is a 7.5. Here are the Genesis albums on the list so far. Blind is the second studio album by English alternative rock band The Sundays. It was released in 1992 and is often considered the darkest and most experimental of the Sundays albums, noted for its melancholic lyrics and closer resemblance to the darker dream pop work of artists such as the Cocteau Twins, which features more polish and layers than their debut record. The title of the album is from a lyric in the song 24 Hours, and actress Winona Ryder was well known for being a big fan of the group. The Sundays' beginnings came from the meeting of singer Harriet Wheeler and guitarist David Gavin while attending Bristol University. The couple became romantically involved, got married, forming the band in the process, and secured a recording contract with Rough Trade Records, releasing their first album in 1990. Rough Trade unfortunately had financial troubles. The band's decision to manage themselves and keeping a low public profile, there were rumors that the group had disbanded. Their second album, Blind, finally arrived in 1992, experiencing commercial success similar to their debut when it peaked at number 103 on the Billboard 200 and reaching the UK Top 15 and sold nearly 500,000 copies in the United States. The single Love reached number 2 on the United States Modern Rocks charts, and critical reception was positive, with most noticing that the band was more confident in their music. During tours for their first album, the band had bought a copy of the Rolling Stones' Sticky Fingers and decided to try a cover of their song Wild Horses. The Sundays cover was originally released as a B-side to their Goodbye single from their first album, and then also appeared as the last song on the United States release of Blind. Their cover was used in a 1994 American Budweiser television commercial, as well as in a 1996 movie Fear on the 1999 soundtrack album for the popular television series Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and an episode of the 2017 series Friends from College. The Sundays toured Britain in the winter of 1992, and afterward an American tour was greeted with sold-out shows. In the end, the tours cut short due to exhaustion and homesickness. Despite Blind's initial appeal with audiences, it drifted off the charts by the summer of 1993. After the touring had ended, the band went on their first extended hiatus as the group welcomed their first child in 1995. The band eventually released their third album in 1997 and have been on hiatus again ever since. The band members are notoriously reclusive and press shy, and little has been heard from them publicly. However, apparently the duo never stopped making music, but nothing further has ever been released as of yet. This album, unfortunately, is very expensive and very hard to find. I have a 2017 reissue, which was a Record Store Day exclusive. There were only 1,500 copies made, and it was done, again, as an exclusive, but also the record label that issued this, Fugitive Records, is no longer in business. So it's on really nice brown vinyl. Sounds nice, looks nice, but I ended up having to get this off the secondary market from eBay. Wasn't one of the lucky ones that got it from Record Store Day back then. So it's, just be prepared if you were looking for this. It's pretty hard to acquire right now. Hopefully it will get reissued again, sometime soon, but there's been no word of that, so good luck. You might actually have an easier time getting an original pressing. However, the problem with that is it does not have the song Wild Horses on it. The 2017 reissue that I have does have that song, and it's such a great song. I really recommend, personally, I would not want this album without it, but you could probably get this less expensively if you were willing to sacrifice having that one song on vinyl. I also have the compact disc version, which also has the Wild Horses cover. This is a great album, but it may not be for everyone. It kind of drifts along like a soft, somber dream, and you might be able to even go to sleep to it. Not sure about that album cover. It's kind of creepy, and it's not a good representation of the music whatsoever in my opinion, but I guess it does stand out. Anyway, the best songs in my opinion are I Feel, Goodbye, Life and Soul, Love, and the absolutely fantastic Wild Horses. Harriet Wheeler's vocals are so soft and lush and absolutely gorgeous, and their Rolling Stones cover almost rivals the original in my opinion. My personal score is a 7.5. You should definitely check this out if you haven't already.
Going again. Clear. Here it comes. We just gotta check you out. You're gonna be fine. You're in an accident. We're just gonna ask some questions.
Are you on any medications right now? Everything's fine.
Chromatica is a sixth studio album by American singer Lady Gaga, released in 2020 by Interscope Records. Gaga supervised the production with a variety of producers to create a concept album returning to her dance pop roots. Chromatica draws inspiration from the 1990s house music, seeing Gaga adopt a cyberpunk-inspired persona. Lady Gaga is well known for her image reinventions, her musical versatility, and her provocative visuals. She began performing as a teenager and later studied at New York University School of the Arts before dropping out to pursue a career in music. After some initial success as a songwriter for other artists, she rose to prominence in 2008 with her debut studio album, The Fame, and her 5 succeeding studio albums all debuted atop the US Billboard 200. Having sold 124 million records as of 2014, she is one of the world's best-selling musical artists, only female artist to achieve 4 singles that sold at least 10 million copies globally. Her accolades include 13 Grammy Awards, 18 MTV Video Music Awards, 16 Guinness World Records, awards from the Songwriters Hall of Fame, and recognition as Billboard's 2010 Artist of the Year and 2015 Woman of the Year. Time magazine has named her as one of the 100 most influential people in the world in 2010 and 2019 and placed her on their all-time 100 fashion icons list. Her activism focuses on mental health awareness, anti-bullying, and LGBT rights, and among her business ventures, she started a vegan cosmetics brand. Chromatica is divided into 3 distinct acts, much of which concerns overcoming adversities and a quest for healing. Most of the songwriting derives from Gaga's mental health struggles precipitated by her fame, the failure of her previous album Joanne, past relationship failures, as well as losses in her family, all of which exacerbated the singer's depression. She therefore found writing Chromatica therapeutic. The music is distinguished by dense synthesizers, percussion, grooves, and orchestral arrangements that merge overarching melodies. Ariana Grande and Elton John contribute guest vocals, as well as K-pop superstars Blackpink. Interscope advertised Chromatica with an aggressive marketing campaign, which was adversely affected by the fallout of the COVID-19 pandemic. 4 singles and a promotional track supported the album, including the US Billboard Hot 100 Top 5 entry Stupid Love and the song Rain on Me. Reviews compared the album favorably on the lyrical subject matter. However, at times times, the production of Chromatica became a point of contention in the reviews. It drew criticism for being too polished, derivative, and sometimes muddled, and it was critiqued for eluding musical risk-taking by mining inspiration from all too familiar territory. My copy, again, is another Record Store Day exclusive, this time from the year 2021, and it's just really spectacular album packaging, and it's on transparent yellow vinyl. The music sounds like it's been digitally sourced and compressed, but that's to be expected. The original vinyl versions of this were in this horrible PVC plastic sleeve, really cheap. I really discourage anyone from getting that. This PVC sleeves, they will slowly damage the vinyl if you don't take them out of it, and it's just this is so much better. And again, it's absolutely gorgeous, really cool looking. In 2021, Lady Gaga released a remix album for Chromatica titled Dawn on Chromatica. The album features remixes and some wild reimaginings of the songs and is a companion piece for the original album. But I personally find the remixes to be all inferior to the original versions, and some of the songs are just frankly terrible. I have the only vinyl version, issued in 2022, which came out in clear vinyl and is supposedly a limited edition. Note that the vinyl version for some reason does not include the best remix, the song Babylon, remixed by Haas Laboratories, which is Lady Gaga's cosmetic company and also features its own content studio. The only remix that I enjoyed on the vinyl is the remix of Enigma, but even that is not essential. So basically my suggestion is to skip the remix album. It is not good at all. Chromatica is a solid dance pop album with really strong vocals from Gaga, using different vocal ranges and tones, and has a very modern sound, which may turn some people off. To me, this does seem to be overproduced, but almost all the songs are undeniably catchy. My favorite songs are Alice, Stupid Love, Rain on Me, Plastic Doll, and especially Fun Tonight and 911. Sign Above, the collaboration with Elton John, which has a ridiculous number of songwriters and producers, has Elton's most inspired vocal performance in years, and has a really interesting breakbeat cinematic coda at the end. I appreciate the song cycle idea to make the album more cohesive versus just a bunch of pop songs thrown together, and it almost has a cyberpunk cinematic feel to the overall album with its instrumental and backing tracks. This is one of the newest releases on Vinylology, chronologically speaking, and my personal score is a 7.5. Paramore is the eponymous fourth studio album by American rock band Paramore, released in 2013 and described by the band as being a reintroduction of the band to the world. Paramore is the first album after founding guitarist Josh Farro and drummer Zach Farro left in 2010, and the final album made with bassist Jeremy Davis before his departure shortly after the album release. Paramore is from Franklin, Tennessee, formed in 2004 on the Fueled by Raymond record label, a subsidiary of Atlantic Records. The band is fronted by lead vocalist Hayley Williams, who was fronted by the Farro brothers in their teenage years, along with guitarist Taylor York. Before the band was signed, Williams was separately signed to Atlantic the year prior, as she was individually scouted by record labels. The band was discovered by many through their song The Code on the 2008 Twilight movie soundtrack, which became a big smash for the group, and since they have achieved massive success with some drama along the way. The separate signing of Williams to a solo contract created strife in the group, with the rest of the band often feeling inferior or secondary. The friction came to a head when legal disputes were initiated by some of the other founding members, who claimed they were not getting their fair share of the royalties, and some of the grievances were aired publicly on the internet. This drama was the reason why so many band members came and went. Supposedly some of the lyrics are directed at ex-band members. The album was an attempt by the band to rise above their struggles and to start with a fresh perspective, which was the reason for the album to be self-titled. During recording, the band was heavily listening to records by Blondie and Susie and the Banshees, and while the album musically was still considered to be the band's brand of commercial pop punk, they experimented with new musical genres such as new wave and funk rock. It also features 3 acoustic interludes. Former Nine Inch Nails and current Angel and Airwaves drummer Ian Rubin played drums. Upon release, the album was a commercial success, debuting at number 1 on the US Billboard 200. Eventually certified platinum in 2016, came their second chart topper in the United Kingdom. The album also topped the the charts in Argentina, Australia, Brazil, Ireland, and New Zealand. 4 singles were released from the album: Now, Still Into You, Daydreaming, Grammy-winning song Ain't It Fun. Still Into You and Ain't It Fun have reached top 10 positions on various charts in the United States and have been certified double platinum in the United States, making the album the band's first to have produced more than one double platinum single. Though not released as a single, the band felt a special connection with the song Ankle Biters and released a music video for it as well. The album received acclaim from many music critics who praised the band's maturity and experimentation in terms of musicianship, the diversity of the songs, as well as complimenting Williams' vocals and overall presence on the album. Several publications included the album in their year-end list, including the AV Club and The Guardian. In 2015, Spin Magazine ranked it as one of the top 300 albums from 1985 to 2014. The deluxe edition of the album was released in 2014, which had a different cover and included 2 new tracks: a demo, a re-recorded version of Hate to See Your Heart Break featuring Joy Williams, and live tracks of songs from the previous albums. For Paramore collectors, the 3 acoustic interludes were re-released as a 7-inch vinyl EP called The Holiday Sessions and released exclusively for Record Store Day 2013. This EP is extremely hard to find and very expensive, and it was pressed on red flower-shaped single-sided vinyl. I have the 2013 original pressing on black vinyl, which has really nice custom labels, but is unfortunately contained in this really cheap, flimsy jacket, especially for 2 records. I found this in a record store in California on their Glory Wall, and never really seen it before, so I snagged it up. It's sound-wise, it's okay. The dynamic score is fairly low. It sounds kind of lifeless, but it's great music. It was recently re-released just earlier this year, 2022. It has the same runouts as this 2013 version, so it's exactly the same. I would expect that to be a lot less expensive than what these original pressings go for. The album is good, but maybe a little bit inconsistent and a little too formulaic, with Haley's inspired anthemic singing masking some really bad lyrics, but I can understand that those lyrical messages would appeal more to people younger than me. My favorite songs are Fast Car, Daydreaming, Hate to See Your Heart Break, and Last Hope, but especially the monster tracks Ain't It Fun and the Smoking Still Into You. The ukulele interludes get old after a while, and I tend to skip them while streaming. Everything considered, I give this album a solid 7.5. It is a great album and totally worth of being on Vinylology. The Revolution by Night is the 9th studio album by American hard rock band Blue Oyster Cult, released in 1983. The album was intended to capitalize on the success of their previous album, Fire of Unknown Origin, released 2 years prior. This was the first Blue Oyster Cult album not to feature the classic lineup, since drummer Albert Bouchard was fired during the previous tour after a falling out with the other band members. Produced by Bruce Fairburn, the album has an intentional blend of more radio-friendly, straight-ahead rock with pop elements, but still has the band's trademark occult and science fiction lyrical themes. In contrast to the success of their previous album, Revolution failed to go gold in the United States, being a commercial disappointment. It was not appreciated by most critics much at the time either. Since then, the album is generally more appreciated by most music lovers diving back into the band's discography. Lead single Shooting Shark was modestly successful on radio, reaching number 83 on the Billboard Hot 100 chart, playing by American Idol's Randy Jackson, and with lyrics based on a poem by Patti Smith. Features a wonderful melody with a saxophone solo and sounds fairly different than the rest of the band's previous work. Its accompanying video made one of MTV's most requested clips at the time of its release, and has scenes shot in the Bronson Caves in Griffin Park in Los Angeles, a very popular Hollywood filming location. The other single, Take Me Away, is basically an Aldo Nova song. Aldo Nova had written a song called Psycho Ward about an escaped convict that went on a murderous rampage. Aldo Nova played all the keyboards and guitars on the song except for the guitar solo. Instead of using Aldo Nova's original lyrics, Eric Bloom wrote new lyrics and renamed the song as Take Me Away, with the song now instead about alien abductions. The song received significant airplay on FM radio stations, and again a music video was created and was featured on MTV. I have two 1983 United States pressings. One is a Pittman and the other is a Carrollton. The Carrollton has all kinds of gunk, and I don't even know what it is. It's on the vinyl. I've washed it. It won't come off. It looks and sounds terrible. That's the reason why I bought another clean copy, which sounds great. This has not been reissued since 1983, so if you want this, you really need to go back and get one of those, original pressings. This is a really good but mostly underappreciated album. The music is slick sounding, and it does have 80s production values that haven't completely aged well, and longtime fans of the band would assumably have been thrown off by the more commercial style. I think the band was trying to duplicate the success of songs like Burning for You. However, if you can put all that aside, this is a great album. My favorite songs are the Monster track, Take Me Away, and Shooting Shark, but I also really like Shadow of California and Let Go. I find that last song, Call and Respond anthemic chanting, really infectious, but again, this song tends to annoy some. The last track, Light Years of Love, is an absolute dud and is incredibly terrible. Some critics called this similar to Loverboy or Foreigner at the time, but I think that is kind of a ridiculous comparison myself. My personal grade is a 7.5, and here are the Blue Oyster Cult albums on the list so far. City of Evil is the third studio album and major label debut by American heavy metal band Avenged Sevenfold, released in 2005 through Warner Brothers Records. City of Evil contained a more traditional heavy metal and hard rock sound, with lead vocalist M. Shadows for the first time employing clean vocals as compared to the band's previous two albums, which showcased a predominantly metalcore sound and with screaming vocals. Avenged Sevenfold formed in 1999 in Huntington Beach, California, fronted by M. Shadows, rhythm guitarist and backing vocalist Zachy Vengeance, lead guitarist and backing vocalist Sinister Gates, bassist and backing vocalist Johnny Christ, and with a later addition of drummer James "The Rev" Sullivan, who tragically died in 2009 from an enlarged heart and with drugs in his system. The new melodic sound that the group used for the album, partially influenced by European power metal bands such as Blind Guardian and Halloween, as well as Children of Bodom, and sounds almost like speed metal or power metal. After getting throat surgery in 2002 for his new vocal style, M. Shadows also worked with vocal coach Ron Anderson for about 9 months before the album's release, whose other clients have included Axl Rose and Chris Cornell, looking to add a grittier, more raspy tone to his voice. In order to increase stamina and strength on the drum pedals, the Rev would sit for hours practicing his kick drum until he could get up to an incredible 210 beats per minute. City of Evil contains some of Avenged Sevenfold's most popular and famous songs, including Backcountry and Beast and the Harlot, and the album was very successful after its release, debuting at number 30 on the United States Billboard chart. It went on to sell 1.5 million copies in the United States and 2.5 million total worldwide, making it their best-selling album. Burn It Down, Backcountry, Beast and the Harlot, and Seize the Day were released as music videos, and multiple songs appeared in video games, notably by Electronic Arts and Activision video games. The album has received numerous accolades, including being ranked number 63 on Guitar World Magazine's 100 Greatest Guitar Albums of All Time, appearing in Kerrang! Magazine's 666 Albums You Must Hear Before You Die, 50 Albums You Need to Hear Before You Die, and their 50 Greatest Metal Albums Ever list. Rolling Stones Magazine also lists the album at number 100 on its list of the 100 Greatest Metal Albums of All Time. Mystifying to some, the second single in Hunter S. Thompson tribute, Backcountry, was one of the breakout singles of 2005, reaching number 2 on the Billboard Hot Mainstream Rock Tracks, and incredibly number 1 on MTV's Total Request Live, which tended to cater to more popular artists like boy bands. Additionally, the band won Best New Artist at the 2006 MTV Video Music Awards, beating out Rihanna, Panic at the Disco, James Blunt, Angels and Airwaves, and Chris Brown. The song's lyrical influence comes from Thompson's 1971 novel Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, whose protagonist is on his way to Las Vegas while being affected by various drugs drugs. Hallucinating, he sees huge bats and manta rays in the sky. The album title is taken from the lyrics of the third single, Beast and the Harlot. The song, with its excellent drop D guitar riffing, peaked at number 19 on the US mainstream rock chart and number 1 on the UK rock chart. The song is a biblical reference about the fall of the sexually deviant city of Babylon, which compares Babylon to this modern city of Hollywood, sexually tempting young, innocent boys to become corrupted and losing their souls. The song and its video are also heavily influenced by Dante's Divine Comedy of Hell. The album cover art is done by artist Casey Scott Howard. I thought this was actually the work of Spider-Man and Spawn comic book artist Todd McFarlane, but it is not. But wow, McFarlane must have been a huge influence. My copy is a fantastic looking, clear with red and gray splatter pressing done by Newberry Comics that was limited to just 600 copies. This was basically celebrating the album's 15-year anniversary. Newberry is basically they're a record store chain in the New England area. They have a lot of brick and mortar stores that sell vinyl records and Funko Pop and all types of merchandise. As you can see, this record looks amazing. Newberry does exclusives like this with really small print runs, typically 1,000 or less, and they occasionally will reissue the same album in different colors, and so if you can't find this particular one, there's others available by Newberry, and there's others available in other formats as well. My first exposure to this band was through the song Beast and the Harlot on Guitar Hero 2. Instantly I liked it, and I tried numerous times to pass the song in hard and expert difficulties without much success. However, after getting this full album, I never felt like the band matched the quality of that one particular song. I did like others, like Burn It Down, Blind in Chains, and Backcountry, but this band had gotten a huge amount of flack from the public over the years, and I have to say that I somewhat agree. The whiny singing of M Shadows just does not completely appeal to me, to be honest, and after a while the songs get a little old, and I think they tend to be too long. For example, Blinded in Chains could have been cut in half and would have been improved for it. The drumming by the Rev is superhumanly fast, and the guitar attack is impressive, but the songs generally do not have enough melody or hooks that really suck me in, like the music of other metal bands that I appreciate more, and the album gets a little monotonous. That being said, this is still good, especially in small doses, and I give this a personal grade of 7. The Richest Man in Babylon is the third studio album by American electronic music duo Thievery Corporation. It was first released in 2002, featuring both electronic and live instrumentation, and combines influences such as dub, class, dance music, rap, reggae, and Indian music, and incorporates protest music into the group's sound. The group has recorded in languages varying from French and Hindi to Romanian, Persian, and Italian. Thievery Corporation was formed in the summer of 1995 at Washington, D.C.'s 18th Street Lounge. Rob Garza and lounge co-owner Eric Hilton was drawn together over their mutual love of club life, as well as dub, bossa nova, and jazz records. The next year, they decided to mix all of these interests by starting a new recording studio, their 18th Street Lounge music record label, also known as ESL. The duo received attention with a couple of initial 12-inch offerings, and thereafter released albums that flavored jazz, bossa nova, and Latin jazz material. The Richest Man in Babylon, released on their ESL label, consisted of 15 tracks and featured performances by mostly female guest vocalists. One of the guest vocalists, the Icelandic singer and songwriter Emiliana Torini, is best known for her 2009 single Jungle Drum, her 1999 album Love in the Time of Science, and her performance of Gollum's song for the 2002 film The Lord of the Rings: The Two Towers. Her vocal contributions on Richest Man consist of the opening track Heaven's Gonna Burn Your Eyes and the second to last track Until the Morning. Another guest vocalist, Pam Brecker, who is a jazz singer and professor of music at George Washington University, also appeared on the album and was a key contributor to the group. She was well known for her vocal range and control. Throughout her life, she struggled with clinical depression and had a nervous breakdown at the age of 25 after a record executive told her that she was too old to start a music career. However, she persevered and maintained a presence on the DC music scene, winning multiple contemporary jazz vocalist awards. She eventually met Garza and Hilton and provided vocals on multiple songs on the group's previous album, including one of their most well-known songs, Lebanese Blonde. On Richest Man, she sang Facing East and All That We Perceive, and unfortunately, these are the last collaborations between her and the group. Ricker later committed suicide by hanging in 2005, just 2 days before the release of the Thievery Corporation's next album. The critical reception for the album was initially mixed, with some calling it their most cohesive work to date, and a new guest artist definitely helped the album better. Among fans, the album is popular, with it peaking at number 5 on Billboard's Independent Albums list and at number 2 on the Dance Electronic Albums list in 2002, United States, and has charted in various countries around the world, doing well especially in New Zealand and Italy. A remixed, dub-heavy version of the album titled Babylon Rewound was also released in 2004, featuring the unreleased track Truth and Rights. The remix album is also available on a limited vinyl run. From what most people have said, the original mixes are slightly better, but if you enjoyed this, you might want to check that out too. I have the 2014 most recent repressing. This was done by United Record Pressing Plant. There were actually two of these done in 2014 by United. One's more common, and it has an incorrect track listing on the sleeve and on the labels, and then another one where the track listing has been corrected, which is what I have. It's for whatever reason it's not as common as the misprint. I remember getting this from Amazon, I think late 2021, and it wasn't that much. It was like $23, $24. And Amazon, most of the time they send things in really good packaging, but every once in a while they'll send something, a record, and all it will be in is this goofy plastic bag thing. And of course, every single time this happens, you take the record out and it's always screwed up in some way or another. So Amazon, though, they have a really good return policy, as I guess everybody knows. I just return it, and most of the time I can get another one, but it's just, I never understood that. But the record itself, this is really nice. The score's not super awesome or anything. This is not audiophile quality, but you can't go wrong. This is really well done. This is currently a lot more expensive than, especially just a year ago when I got this. I think the demand has gone up for it. But I would expect them to repress this again at some point fairly soon. I love the cool, international, beat-heavy sophistication of this album, where it easily takes you away in a soothing journey to other lands. All of its influences just gel together in a very easy listen, and is a great piece of music to listen to for relaxation. My favorite tracks are Heaven's Gonna Burn Your Eyes, with those wonderful Brinker vocals, Facing East, the title track, with vocals by reggae artist Notch, and A State of the Union, with vocals this time by reggae artist Shinehead. As the album goes on, it seems like the group is treading the same water somewhat, but it is a nice collective cohesive listen, and the different vocalists help that songs be more distinguishable from each other. I give this a personal score of 7.5, and I recommend it. Phoenix may not be the best climate for collecting something as sensitive as vinyl records, but here you will find one of the best record stores in the country, the N-Groove. Having been inspired by high-end vinyl stores in Europe, the store was originally opened in 2015 and has made an instant impact on the vinyl community. I have visited here multiple times, both at their previous location in a strip mall at East Thomas Road and at their new spot not too far away on 24th Street, close to the airport in a Camelback East Village suburb. As far as pricing, you will not find too many deals here. The store is basically an audiophile elite record store, and you're paying for that with each record you buy. There are some dollar bins underneath the main counters, but they're generally in poor condition. The N-Groove gets basically every single new release, and they offer multiple copies of each one. For record store days, they basically get everything, and anything that does not immediately sell locally will go on their website for online distribution a little later. The used selection generally is good to excellent. I found some personal treasures here that I have not seen anywhere else. Also, they clean everything they sell and store everything in very nice sleeves, so used record condition is not a problem here. Some records will be identified with a warning sticker as being in subpar condition, but 99% of the time their used inventory looks to be in great shape. The store is fairly organized and the inventory is easy to get to with lots of space. Records are broken down by genres, so it helps greatly to find that particular album you're looking for. The people that work here, including Mike and his wife Angel, are really nice. They don't seem to go out of their way to bother customers in their store, but if you need help, they will definitely assist. Mike I've seen do that often for others as well as other employees. Personal story, one time Mike accidentally rang me up twice for the same item, and I did not realize it until I got back home. I called and they refunded the mistake with no questions asked, so I can definitely vouch for their customer service. The new location is definitely a step up over the old one, with a dedicated parking lot and more interior space, and not right beside a mental health facility as before. It's definitely an interesting aside, and its surrounding areas is not that noteworthy, however. One thing that the in-group does better than almost anyone is the sheer amount of information that they share on their online videos. Mike is extremely well known in the online vinyl community, and he often does shootouts comparing various versions of certain records, and the amount of knowledge he has and is willing to share is outstanding. Their website is also very helpful, where they sell most of their inventory online. They also offer record cleaning services even for new releases. They also offer some audio equipment, and Mike promises that the store is continuing to expand. Seriously, if you want to be a more informed vinyl collector, take the time to check out their videos. They are outstanding. Besides the In-Groove, Phoenix has other great record stores, and one of the best is Stinkweeds. Stinkweeds has been in business since 1987, originally in Mesa, Arizona, started by Kimber Lanning when she was only 19 years old, and moved 4 times over the years, with their current location in the uptown area of Phoenix. I met the store manager, Lindsay Cates, who is an extremely nice lady. She was once a frequent customer of the store and then eventually became an employee, and has been so since 1999. We had an interesting conversation about the challenges of categorizing electronic music properly, which I have noticed a lot of stores get completely wrong. Compared to the In-Groove, the pricing at Stinkweeds is much more preferable if you're on a budget. The store collects most mainstream new releases, and they seem to go out of their way to get releases of different tastes for their customers, especially compared to other record stores. They are definitely willing to cater to any particular interest that you may have, and they will go out of their way to assist. The store mostly has new releases, however, but their used selection is fairly decent. Everything is very organized and nicely done, and I cannot say enough how super nice and informative the employees at Stinkweeds are. They also have a very incredible eclectic taste of music, and they will definitely help anyone just looking for suggestions. I noticed based on their staff's recommendations that they are all excellent connoisseurs of music. The general location of the store is not in a really impressive area, but it did not feel unsafe either. There's a back area for hanging out, and their website also has some interesting items, like a really good explanation of the store's history, and they have weekly recommendations from their staff. Before the pandemic, they often had bands play at their store, and some of them were really well known. Not sure if they have started doing that again, however. They also sell other items like books and graphic novels, along with other merchandise. They also have an online store and a Discog store as well, but I don't believe they have their entire inventory online. So if you're ever in the Phoenix area, I definitely recommend these 2 stores. They are both excellent. Here's a list of the record stores that I've visited and rated so far on Vinylology. Wine Light is an often overlooked 1980 studio album by American jazz funk musician Grover Washington Jr., being released by Elektra Records. It includes the Grammy Award-winning hit Just the Two of Us, sung by Bill Withers, and received the Grammy Award for Best Jazz Fusion Performance in 1982. Washington, along with Wes Montgomery and George Benson, is considered by many to be one of the founders of the smooth jazz genre through his saxophone playing. Throughout the 1970s and 80s, Washington, based mostly in Philadelphia, PA, made some of the genre's most memorable hits, and he performed very frequently with other artists, including Patti LaBelle and Phyllis Hyman. The only single and the only song that was not an instrumental was the hit song Just the Two of Us, with Bill Withers on vocals, reaching number 2 on the U.S. Billboard Hot 100 chart for 3 weeks, blocked from the top spot by the songs Morning Train 9 to 5 by Sheena Easton and Betty Davis Eyes by Kim Carnes. Vocalist Bill Withers had several other hits over a career spanning 18 years years, including the legendary songs Ain't No Sunshine and Lean on Me. Withers had won 3 Grammy Awards and was nominated for 6 more, and his life was the subject of the 2009 documentary film Still Bill. The hit song had multiple covers. Notable versions included Bill Cosby doing a parody version called Just a Slew of Us, and Will Smith released a reworking of the song in 1997, which samples and incorporates lyrics from the original. The Will Smith version was later parodied in the Mike Myers James Bond parody film Austin Powers' The Spy Who Shagged Me. Also, Eminem sampled the song on his song 97 Bonnie and Clyde off of his debut major label album, the Slim Shady LP. Another song from the album is called Let It Flow, a smooth song with nice Fender Rhodes piano accompaniment. Washington is playing the alto sax, with the song being dedicated to Julius Erving, a superstar NBA basketball player at the album's release and nicknamed Dr. J. During his 16 seasons as a player, his team never missed the playoffs, and they won the championship 3 times. Most of his career was for the Philadelphia 76ers, a team that Grover Washington was a fan of and helped give the city the NBA championship in 1983. On December 17, 1999, 5 days after his 56th birthday, Washington collapsed while waiting in the green room after performing 4 songs for the Saturday Early Show at CBS Studios in New York City, having suffered a massive heart attack.
Jazz saxophone player Grover Washington Jr. died overnight at the age of 56 after suffering an apparent heart attack.
It happened shortly after Washington taped the performance for this broadcast. Whether playing the national anthem at NBA games in his adopted hometown of Philadelphia or wowing crowds at packed venues around the country, Grover Washington Jr. was a jazz man for our time.
In addition to Washington, album contributors Ralph McDonald, Bill Withers, Richard T., and Eric Gale have all since passed away. I have the 2021 Friday Music reissue. It's pressed on 180-gram gold marble vinyl. This was a remastered from the original Elektra Records tapes. It looks and sounds amazing. Friday Music had different colors. I preferred this one just because it kind of, I thought it matched more with, you know, the color of the album. I mean, pretty close. One thing I always kind of laugh at, I feel like this album encourages alcoholism because it's got this nice shiny wine glass in the front. And of course, like you can see the volume level. But of course, in the back, it's, you know, there's been some drinking been done. So I think there's some subtle messages here that's hopefully it's not influencing too many people. But this is a nice, consistent, smooth jazz album from beginning to end. My favorite is, of course, the groovy ballad, Just the Two of Us, but also really enjoyed the extended saxophone workouts on One Light, Let It Flow, and Make a Memory. I give this a personal grade of 7.5. This is Grover Washington Jr.'s only album on the list. Record is the second studio album by American rock band Filter, released in 1999 by Reprise Records. Filter formed in 1993 in Cleveland, Ohio by singer Richard Patrick and programmer Brian Lisa Gang. Both were participated in the band Nine Inch Nails. Their debut album Short Bus was released in 1995 and ended up going platinum, largely due to the success of the single Hey Man Nice Shot. After the album, the band would go through the first of many lineup changes, leaving Patrick as the only consistent member across all releases. Title of Record was created over an exhaustive 4-year period. Prior to formal recording sessions for the album, the two wrote and released a few songs and movie soundtracks, most notably the electronic rock track Can't You Trip Like I Do with the Crystal Method, which proved to be a turning point for the two. The song is a reworking of the song Trip Like I Do, a song originally on the Crystal Method's debut album Vegas, and was initially released for the 1997 film Spawn. The original inspiration for the song came from a friend of the Crystal Method, Scott Kirkland, who was using ecstasy and leaving voicemail messages saying that, "I wish you could trip like I do." These recording sessions strengthened Lisa Gang's conviction to move into more of an electronic Radiohead-type musical direction, whereas it had the opposite effect on Patrick, inspiring him to keep the music heavy and guitar-oriented. This friction continued until Lisa Gang and the rest of the other band members left, and by mid-1997, Patrick was the sole member. Patrick, now on his own, attempted to restart the sessions for the album, but experienced writer's block and decided to build his own studio, which took over 2 years. With the studio finally built, Patrick recruited other musicians and finally started recording. Darcy Retzky, former bassist of the Smashing Pumpkins, provided background vocals for the track Cancer. It wasn't known until years later, but during this period, Patrick and Retzky were romantically involved, which was kept secret mainly because Retzky was still married at the time, and the Pumpkins were at the peak of their success. She is credited on the album as Miss Wood and still uses that name online and social media, going by Faye Wood. The album was a critical and commercial success upon its release, peaking at number 30 on the US Billboard 200 and was certified platinum. The album was featured as number 8 on Loudwire's list of 15 best hard rock albums of 1999, and in 2005 the album was included in Rock Hard Magazine's book, The 500 Greatest Rock and Metal Albums of All Time. Welcome to the Fold, released as the lead single with its low-tuned guitars, had its title based on an album of the same name released in 1998 by a novelty folk rock band from Cleveland called 100,000 Leagues Under My Nutsack. Filter's bassist Frank Cavanaugh was friends with 100,000 Leagues lead singer, and Richard Patrick liked the album so much that he named the song after it. Being the album's longest song, is basically about being young, carefree, and successful all at the same time. The second and most successful single, Take a Picture, was lyrically written about an experience Patrick had where he had gotten drunk on an airplane, took off his clothes, and fought with flight attendants who tried to subdue him. During all of this, he was so drunk and he was hoping that someone would have taken his picture so that he could have remembered it. Apparently, Patrick was arrested for the incident and was taking him for psychiatric treatment. The song taps into the isolation that he felt during the experience and the shame that he assumed his parents would have felt if they knew that his son committed these acts. Patrick has also since stated that the song was also sort of a love song for Darcy Retzky, along with the songs Miss Blue, I'm Not the Only One, Skinny, and It's Gonna Kill Me. Knowing this, you can easily read into the lyrics the love that he felt for her, but you can also detect feelings of loneliness, resentment, and heartbreak due to the nature of their relationship. I'm Not the Only One was written about when Retzky told Patrick that she did not want to be romantically exclusive with him, and Miss Blue especially resonates with Patrick sobbing at the end, realizing that their relationship has ended. One other fun fact, Richard Patrick's older brother is actor Robert Patrick, whose most famous roles is being the villain in Terminator 2 and appearing in movies like The Unit, Scorpion, True Blood, and The X-Files. I have the 2019 20th anniversary edition by Craft Recordings that came out. This is the first and only time this has been pressed on vinyl. It includes 4 bonus tracks. The quality is there. Craft Recordings is a really good label. They always put out great stuff. I jumped on this when it came out, and I'm glad I did. This is like skyrocketed in price, big time. I think I paid around $30 or something, and now it's easily over $100 just a year later. So again, it's on 2 LPs, traditional black vinyl. Unfortunately, this is your only option at this juncture, but I would assume at some point they would re-release it. Would be kind of dumb if they didn't, but so good luck. Man, I love this album. I really do, and it's aged very well in my opinion. My faves are Welcome to the Fold, Captain Bligh, bonus track Can't You Trip Like I Do, the groovy and jamming Cancer with its environmentally friendly message, and of course Take a Picture. And a bonus track of that song is a winner too. My only criticism is sometimes it seems like the band is reusing song ideas, and sometimes Patrick's vocals is a little whiny, but it isn't too bad overall. I give this album an 8. This is Filter's only album on the list, but check out their other other albums if you like this. I have their first album, Short Bus, on CD, which has their hit Hey Man, Nice Shot, and also I have The Army of Anyone CD, Richard Patrick's collaboration with members of Stone Temple Pilots. Filter also did a really good cover of Harry Nilsson's One that's found on the X-Files 1998 movie soundtrack. Well, there you have it, another episode finally done. Thanks to the city of Phoenix for not melting the records that I bought there, and thanks to you for watching. With rising record prices, hopefully these videos help people make smarter selections. Thanks again, and take care. Finally!